Hey guys, welcome back to another air gun review. Today we're going to look at the Edgun Leshiy in 25 caliber with a 250 millimeter barrel. So let's go ahead and unbox it and see what you get when you buy a Leshiy. It comes in this nice case. As you can see, it's very similar to a Pelican case. It actually has a rubber gasket around it, and the locks themselves are very high quality. And you open it up, and it comes with an egg crate foam that has the little cubes that you can pull out so you can set it to whatever scope you end up buying. And it also comes with a English manual that's very well written, I must add. And of course the gun, the part that you guys have all been waiting for. Okay guys, so here's the gun unfolded. Its overall length is 25 inches unfolded or in shooting position. Its folded length is 14 inches. I'll show you the weight right now. In pounds first. Actually, this is kilograms. In kilograms, it's 1.514 kilograms. We'll go ahead and switch it to pounds so that my American viewers don't have to do any math. 3.5 pounds unscoped. It's a very light, compact gun. Easy to hold with one hand, as you can see here. It's got some very unique features with it. We're going to go ahead and start with the buttstock, and I'll work my way forward. Starting with the gauge. That's something that was added, as you guys have seen probably from Ed's videos. My overall impression of the gun is it's very well made. The thing feels like a brick. I mean, it's very solid. There's no plastic feel to it. There's no tin sound to it. Everything has a deep baritone sound when you open and close it. The clicking of all the parts and how they fit, I'm very impressed with it. The machining is excellent. As you can see here, it's got nice cutouts here for all CNC'd for the buttstock. Working our way forward, we have a dust cap right here. The dust cap has a nice positive click to it. As you can see, just opening and closing the gun is really effortless. And it's got a nice positive click here for the fill probe. And it has two positions. So when the gun is open, you can fill it from the top, and when it is closed, you can fill it from the bottom here. So it's really easy to stick your fill probe in from the bottom and keep an eye on your gauge as you fill it. So it's very ergonomic that way. Then of course, as everybody remembers from Ed's very first video, it has a carabiner built into the buttstock. This is the air tube that is folded right here. It is regulated. As I said, the regulator is set at 110 bar. This little brass piece is the valve housing, and there's a valve that sits right underneath it. And this is a direct flow PCP air rifle. Here's the locking mechanism and the hammer spring. And the hammer spring kind of works in a reverse fashion from a normal hammer spring, and I'll show you how to adjust it. As we work forward, the grip is made of a nice polymer plastic that I guess is used in Russian military applications. It's very durable, scratch resistant, pretty much can't break it, and it feels really nice to the touch. It's got a nice kind of grippy feel, but not really rubbery. I mean, you can definitely feel that it is a polymer. It doesn't have a rubberized feel, but it's got a nice positive grip, and it has nice stimpling in the back here. And it's the right size. It's not overly big, it's not overly small, and it's comfortable to shoot for a long period of time. Moving forward, we have the safety here, and this is what I would call a semi-automatic safety. And the reason why I say it's semi-automatic is that it technically doesn't have a mechanical feature that causes the safety to engage. What engages the safety here is closing the air tube. So as we disengage the safety and you shoot, you go ahead and cock the gun, and as you get to the very end, that's what engages the safety. It has a nice Picatinny rail on the top that has plenty of space for a small scope, and part of this review I'm going to talk about scopes that probably fit best on this gun that I have found so far. There may be others out there. This is the cocking lug that actually cocks the gun. We have a non-adjustable two-stage trigger and a magnet that helps keep the gun closed, so that you could clip it on a carabiner and walk with it. And of course, it does have a moderator on the front, and it's easily accessible by unscrewing the end cap. When you disengage the safety, it is important that you disengage it all the way. If you have a tendency to disengage it halfway, when you go, it really only happens when you go from fire mode to safe. You can feel there's 2 clicks here. I'll be quiet and let you listen. You need to make sure that that safety is engaged all the way, because if you put it in the half safety mode and then you pull the trigger, sometimes what can happen is the sear, because this is an actual sear blocker, can rest on top of that bar of the safety, and then when you disengage it, the gun may let the hammer fall all the way and you might get a accidental discharge. So just be careful of that. Make sure it's all the way on, all the way off. It's not an issue that I've seen so far by just closing the gun. If you listen here, when I go to cock it, and you can see that even uncocked, this is going to be completely effortless. So as I go to cock it here, as soon as you hear that sound, the gun is ready to fire. If I want the safety to engage, I just go all the way with it, and that engages the safety. So that's pretty much just a quick down and dirty overview of the gun. Now I'm going to show you how to adjust the power of the Leshiy. That you may want to adjust the speed for the pellet or when you change calibers. Okay, so the hammer spring tensioner is right here in the front, as you can see, directly underneath the moderator. That's a 6mm hex head, and to increase the speed, you're going to back the hammer spring tensioner out. So you can just put a 6mm hex head in there, and as you can hear, when you back it out, it's got an audible click. What I find handy about having the detent in the hammer spring tensioner is that you can remember how many clicks you were for each caliber. So if you change calibers, or if you want to try a different speed for your pellet, and then you decide you want to put it back, it's easy to do because you can just remember, oh, I adjusted it 4 clicks down or 4 clicks up, and so I'm able to put it back. I think it makes it a little bit more user-friendly than having an infinite setting where you can't maybe find the exact same setting that you had before. So that's a nice touch for this gun, especially being multi-caliber. Having that feature I think is going to be really handy in the long run. So let's go ahead and take it and put it on the gun vise and show you what it looks like with different scopes attached. And I'll talk a little bit about eye relief. A lot of people have different ideas of what they want to use this gun for, and of course when you buy it, it's your choice what you want to use it for. But one of the things that I think could be a mistake is putting too big of a scope on there. And in some ways, a large scope just won't work. So to illustrate that point, I'm going to show you that you don't have enough clearance here to get a 45 or 44mm front objective. So here I'm going to put an Edgun scope on here and give you an idea. You can see even with the low mounts that come with the Edgun scope, or excuse me, medium mounts, you'd have to get some pretty tall mounts. And for me, that's going to be too tall. I'm going to have a difficult time getting a good reticle picture without wiggling each time. And one of the key things you always want to do is be able to close your eyes, open them, and get a good reticle picture, and that helps remove a little bit of parallax error that you might experience. So the first choice that I think is an excellent choice, or might be a good choice, and of course there are more choices in the extreme price range. However, in this segment I'm trying to present reasonably priced scopes that will fit on the Leshiy and have all the right features you need. And the first one is the UTG Bug Buster. You can get them on Amazon for $89, $90. Make sure that you don't, if you do buy one of these, you don't buy the counterfeit one. There's 2 models. Make sure you get the one that is sold by UTG, not the counterfeit model. The reticle's slightly different, and I personally bought one by accident, not knowing, and the thing wouldn't track correctly. So this is a decent scope. It's a 3 to 9 second focal plane. It has a nice reticle, good holdover. One of the choices that you need to make is that this gun has a lot more range potential, and you'll see when I go to shoot it at the field, it has more range than you think it can. So you're going to want at least a few mil-dot holdovers so that you can shoot between 50, 75, or 80 yards, whatever you decide. But at least you have the option. You also want something I think that parallax is pretty close, and the Bug Buster I think goes down to 3 meters. So it's a good choice, and as you can see, it doesn't really screw up the overall gestalt of the gun, so to speak. So I think that might be a good choice, and for $90, give or take a few dollars, and it comes with the mounts and nice little quick detach mounts, I think it's a good choice. Okay, so the second choice that I have decided might be okay in the reasonable price range might be the Hawk 2 to 7 by 32. This is a decent scope, has a nice reticle, okay glass. It goes down to 3 meters, and it's a 32 front objective. It's relatively light. It's slightly longer than the Bugbuster, as you can see on top, but it's a good choice. Now, the scope that I filmed with is a 2.5 by 10 by 32 PST Vortex MOA EBR1 reticle, and on here I have a 20 MOA mount. As you can see, it just barely clears the front, and I did this because I actually shoot this at 100 yards on video, and I needed to add a little bit of MOA because this rail is flat, which I think is going to be fine for short range shooting. I'm not encouraging you to add MOA to this rail and try to turn it into a 100-yard machine. It's not a Matador, but it is capable of doing it. This is a decent piece of glass. It fits okay. Again, it's a little bit long, so kind of your choice. I just wanted to give you guys an idea of what each scope looked like and kind of how it fit on here. I think out of all of them, although I'm not super stoked on the quality of the Bugbuster, it does seem like it fits on here pretty well. The only problem that I've had with the Bugbuster is that it's so short, and this is actually a pretty close to a standard length of pole on a rifle. And so you're going to have to, or I had to put this all the way back to get proper eye relief. So that's the only thing. And when I chose a scope, I didn't want the diopter to hang too far over so that when it's folded, it kind of increases its overall folded length. Kind of some choices you might want to decide. I did have another brand on there, but the problem is what you want to focus on when you're looking at a scope is what its minimum parallax is. And if it's 100 yards, like most AR-15 scopes that are going to fit on here, it's not going to work for you because it's just going to be too blurry at the close range. So here's some options for you. Let's go ahead and take a look at shot string and see what we got. So about 13, 14 shots, and I got to be honest with you, the gun was very inefficient from 300 to 220 bar. So even though you can fill it to 300 bar, I think you're going to use a lot of air. I personally recommend giving up those 3 shots, filling it for 220 bar down to 100 bar. I'm very pleased with the results for a gun this small and shooting that kind of power. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the trigger. Okay, so let's go ahead and see what the trigger pull is like. .1 ounces. 8.8. 9. And 9.6. Alright, let's take it out to the field and test fire it and see what she can do at 50 and 100 yards. So if you put the pellet in and you make sure that the head is lined up, and then you press it like that, as you can see I went down and pressed it in. Sometimes what that does is deforms the head of the pellet because there's no lead in here, so it's tight right into the chamber. So it really depends on how you load it. So if you're in a hurry, you're loading quickly, you're not paying attention, and you happen to destroy the pellet on one side of it, it may cause a flyer. It's just something to be aware of. It's definitely able to be overcome with just a little bit of care when you're loading the gun. So I was really surprised with the 25 shooting at around 760 feet per second that I was able to hold such tight groups at long range and be able to hit objects at that long range as well. So I decided I'd wanted to see what the ballistic coefficient was of the pellet traveling that fast. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and test it with the two chronograph method. So we'll use V1 and V2, and then we'll calculate ballistic coefficient. So let's go ahead and calculate ballistic coefficient by using the Chairgun app. We're going to calculate ballistic coefficient from velocity difference. That's going to pop open a new box, and we take our 5-shot average of V1, or the muzzle velocity, and we find it was 753 feet per second. And if you remember, the yardage was 50, and the velocity 2, or downrange velocity, was 652 feet per second for a 5-shot average. And we calculate with the GA profile, and we find a ballistic coefficient of 0.0403, which is quite high for this pellet at this speed. And I think that explains why the pellet performs so well downrange. Well, thanks for watching the Leshiy review video. I hope you found it entertaining and informative. And as always, if you have any questions, you can email me at edgunwest@gmail.com, or you can go to my website, edgunwest.com, for more information. Thank you.